Here's a very old version of a very old story called The Town Mouse and the Country Mouse. You can see these charming pictures, and that this was published back in 1965. Oops. See that? It's an old version of it. But that's good. I think you'll like it. It's got nice pictures too. Whoops. Okay. One day, a little gray country mouse was visited by her cousin, a handsome town mouse. The country mouse was surprised to see her cousin. She lived so very far from town that she seldom had any visitors. The country mouse showed her cousin around the farm, then showed him how to get into her house. They popped into a hole in the ground, crept along a dark tunnel, and finally squeezed into her tiny room. The country mouse slipped on a clean apron, dusted out a corner so the town mouse could sit, and then hurried about making lunch. The country mouse looked through her cupboard, but all she could find was some dried peas. She dropped them in a pot of water to cook and sat down to have a nice long talk with her cousin. "Your house is rather small and dark," said the town mouse. "I have large sunny rooms." "It sounds very nice," said the country mouse. When the peas were cooked, the country mouse served them on her best dishes. She had put in a few dried carrot leaves, and the soup was quite delicious. The town mouse took only a sip of the tasty soup, then pushed his plate away and said, "In town, I always eat meat and cheese." "That sounds very nice," said the country mouse. When it was supper time, the country mouse decided to serve her cousin the very best food she could find. She went to the fields and pulled some orange carrots. She picked green beans, too, and gathered some lettuce leaves. She even slipped into the kitchen of the farmhouse to get a little flour so she could bake a tiny loaf of bread. When supper was ready, they sat down to eat. "Here, cousin," the country mouse said, "have some salad." The town mouse nibbled a little of the salad, then said, "I always have dressing on my salad." "Here, cousin, have some nice fresh bread," said the country mouse. The town mouse nibbled a little of the good crusty bread, then said, "I always have butter on my bread." The country mouse sighed. "I guess things aren't as nice here as they are in town," she said sadly. "See here," said the town mouse, "I can't understand why you put up with this cramped room and dull food. Why don't you come home with me? When you've lived in town for a week, you will never want to be a country mouse again." "I think I'll go," said the country mouse. She took off her apron, put on her best bonnet, and they started for town. It was late at night when they arrived at the splendid big house where the town mouse lived. "You must be tired and hungry after our long walk," said the town mouse. He took the country mouse into a grand dining room. On the table were the remains of a splendid feast, all kinds of meats, cheeses, cakes, jellies, even tea. The country mouse had never seen so much food. She jumped up on the table and was trying to decide which dainty to sample first, when the door opened and the cook came in. The town mouse and the country mouse scampered under a chair and hid until the cook left the room. "What a fright that was!" cried the country mouse. When the house was quiet again, they went back to their supper. The country mouse had just taken a bite of delicious-smelling cheese when two huge dogs bounded into the room. The dogs set up a terrific growling and barking. The country mouse and the town mouse ran to the top of a cupboard and did not come down again until the dogs had left the room. "What a fright that was!" cried the country mouse. When the house was quiet again, they went back to their supper. The country mouse had just tasted the strawberry jam when a fierce black cat leaped upon the table. "Run!" cried the town mouse. Half frightened to death, the Country Mouse ran down from the table and into the hole where she saw her cousin disappearing. "That was the worst fright ever," cried the Country Mouse. "I must be going, cousin. You live in an ice house, but mine is safer." The Country Mouse straightened her bonnet and left. It was morning when she popped into the hole in the ground, crept along the dark tunnel, and squeezed into her tiny room. The Country Mouse sat down and ate a bowl of her tasty pea soup and a slice of her nice baked bread. How good it tasted! She looked around her tiny room. How warm and cozy it was! She was very, very happy to be a country mouse. That was a very old version of the Town Mouse and the Country Mouse. Hope you liked it, and I hope you subscribe, and I hope you come back often.